Hello guys, welcome back to Wholesale and Apartments with the Flip Man. This is the first video after the introduction video. Why should you wholesale apartments? It's really simple, money. To change your financial situation. Wholesaling apartments, one deal. I haven't been this fortunate yet. It's coming. Hopefully it may be with you. But one deal can actually change your financial situation forever, because maybe an opportunity that you can make so much money from that one deal. Number one, it allows you to replace all your income for several years to come, or act as your main source of income, because you were able to not wholesale the property, but take the property on as an opportunity to own the property. It may generate you $10,000 a month in just revenue profit after all the bills have been paid. Okay, but simply put, why should you wholesale apartments? Okay, supply and demand is the first header here. What I mean by that is, simply put, is that comparing houses to apartments. Anybody that doesn't know anything about real estate, in most markets, you're going to have more houses than apartments, which means there's a huge supply of houses, which means that buyers are at an advantage in the sense that there are not that many, that there are so many houses available. They're going to have their pick of the litter in most cities of any significant size. Whereas with apartments, in most cities, not all, but in most cities, you're going to have fewer apartments, number one, period, compared to houses, but then even fewer apartments that are actually available for sale compared to houses, which means you're going to have a greater number of buyers that you can tap into locally, nationally, and sometimes even internationally. That's the great thing about multifamily versus houses, is that your buyers, you increase your chances of selling your property, because you will attract buyers if marketed correctly outside of your market, especially the larger number of units that you're dealing with. 10, 20 units, you can definitely have some local buyers and maybe some actual national buyers. But once you start talking 25, 50, 75, 100, 200 units, now you're dealing with the entire country, and in a lot of cases internationally also. So that's the great thing about it versus when it comes to supply and demand with houses, with multifamily versus houses, is that it's just a simple numbers game. It's not as many of those that are available, multifamily, versus the number of houses in a particular market in most cases. In New York City may be a little different. In other cities around the country may be a little different, but for the most part, you're going to have many, many more single-family homes than you are apartments or multifamily properties. Huge paydays. This is the name of the game, baby. Hey, you're not here just to make me feel good or tap into my ego. You're here to make money. And when you're dealing with apartments, that's the name of the game. Is that those checks that are made dealing with houses, you may be able to do 5, 7, 10 grand on a house deal. With an apartment, that check, that same deal that took the same amount of effort, may be a $50,000 check. It may be a six-figure check, 125, 150, 200,000, possibly even a seven-figure check. It exists. Haven't been as fortunate to do it, but I've met individuals that have done those type of transactions on an actual wholesale transaction. So, but what's realistic, definitely the 5 and 6 figures, that's realistic. All of it's realistic, but I'm talking about like really realistic, but huge paydays is your objective. That's what you want from dealing with multifamily, and situations may arise where you could do one multifamily deal and that covers your living expenses for the entire year. And obviously you can focus and put more time into it. But that's your, for most people, it's going to be their primary goal, is to offer them some form of financial freedom, flexibility to do a lot of different things. Obviously with family, everybody's goal is going to be different on that, but that's what the huge payday and the lure of flipping or wholesaling a multifamily unit will give you. Easier to get to wholesale than houses. That goes back to the supply and demand bullet point that I just discussed. It is just that when you're dealing with an apartment complex or a multifamily, just think about it. Where someone wants to get into the rental game of houses, if you had a 25 unit apartment complex, that's versus 25 houses scattered all over a particular market. So the management of it is going to be is going to be better for you. The income can be the same or better. The maintenance, which is a part of the management, but you're dealing with the maintenance right there on one location versus 25 different locations periodically. Obviously, the rate of growth as far as the appreciation of the property, that will factor in when you're dealing with multifamily. As I said again, the number of buyers that's going to be attracted to a multifamily versus the single family is just not even close when you're dealing with multifamily. And then probably the main thing is because you can deal with buyers that will be interested outside of your actual market, nationwide, and in a lot of cases, like I said, internationally. Another thing about easier to wholesale, where some neighborhoods with houses you could ever convince an out of town owner, some local owners to invest in a multifamily apartment unit inside and what a questionable area is, quote unquote, that's been used over and over again in our business in war zones. Those apartment buildings they're more attractive than a house in a war zone. That's just the way it is. Obviously, if a property is managed correctly, I don't care where it is, it can make you money and make you a lot of it. So it's all about management, and obviously it takes it takes probably quite a bit more management when you're dealing in those questionable areas. But you still will have buyers out there that will be attracted to those areas when you start talking about multifamily, especially the more units that you're dealing with. On to the next bullet point is opportunity to own multifamily. Not sure how many houses that you may have done or will do in the future, but those opportunities have always arisen with me, where if I wanted to, and I have taken advantage of some of those situations, if I wanted to actually do some form of owner financing with the actual owner of a house, that was possible. The same thing will exist with multifamily. You'll have the opportunity that it may not be that attractive of a deal when it comes to wholesaling the property, but it may be a very attractive deal through some form of owner financing with either nothing down or very little down. Whether you have the money or not, that's an opportunity where either you could bring in a partner that does have the money to put down to acquire the property through owner financing, or maybe still an opportunity that'll just be how the property would be sold, and you still would be able to pick up a wholesale fee because you set up the owner financing. I'll get into that later on in one of the other discussions. But the opportunity will exist there where the owner won't simply want to sell the property because of the tax ramifications that he may take on because of the sale of the property versus him owner financing the property. And that may be something staring you right in the face where they really don't want you to put anything down, but just take over the property and start to manage or put management in place. That could be a situation where you could maybe pick up $1,500 a month in actual income That could be 15,000 where you could put an actual income. And obviously, if that occurred, then you would be at the actual point where, I mean, you'll probably have to make a decision, because you're bringing in 15,000 a month from just one location. You're in the game, and you're in the game in a hurry. But that opportunity will exist to own multifamily. The more owners that you speak with, the more motivated sellers that you try to negotiate deals with, that'll be the option that they'll even recommend, which is somewhat totally different when you're dealing with single family houses, is that those you normally have to recommend those options versus you offering that option of owner financing to put a deal together. Because sometimes the numbers as far as a cash deal won't work for the seller, but an opportunity to owner financing, some form of owner financing will be perfect for them, because number one, they will be able to continue to receive some income from the property, and they don't have to take the tax hit at that time. They just may not be prepared for it for any number of reasons. So why should you wholesale apartments? Obviously, supply and demand, as I said, just many more houses than apartments. So with it being so fewer apartments versus houses, you're just going to have a greater number of buyers. Plus, you'll be able to tap into buyers nationwide and sometimes even internationally. Obviously, the huge payday option, that's what you're in it for, is to change your financial situation and change it in a hurry. Easy to wholesale than houses. That simply goes back to supply and demand. It's just a numbers game. They're just more attractive to a lot more people that have the resources and the money to pull those types of deals off, because in most cases they're looking for cash flow, and multifamily is one of the best cash flow options out there when it comes to investing money. The opportunity to own multifamily yourself just through your normal marketing. If you're out there getting it, putting it together, hustling, trying to find deals, you're just going to run into those opportunities where an actual owner will want to actually owner finance the property to you versus an actual total sale or payoff at that time. But this is why you should wholesale apartments. See you on the next video. Thanks.